own bedding range. So we've got our own bedding arriving in a couple of weeks. It's in the port and it's going in and out, in and out, in and out. Actually, let me rephrase that. The packaging for the bedding is in the port. The bedding is all in New South Wales. Our quilts, our duvets get made up in New South Wales, and our My First pillows get made in New South Wales, but they have made in China on them because the packaging is made in China. So we have the quilts, the duvets, My First pillows, Save Our Sleep mattress protectors, all in New South Wales, ready to be packaged. The packets are in the ship with our white wraps, and it's going into the port, out of the port, into the port, out of the port, according to the updates. We think what's happened is we think the containers are sitting on a ship out in the port, and then we get a notification saying it's due to arrive on the 21st, and then we get notification to say it's coming on the 19th, and then it says it's coming on the 27th, and then an hour later it's 19th, and then an hour later the 23rd. So we've no idea what's happening. But when our packaging arrives, we will be launching our new bedding range. And in our new bedding range, we have TOG rated duvets. And I would like to explain to you about TOG, because we have been having our duvets tested, and our cotton duvet will be 8 TOG and our wool duvet will be 12 TOG. Now, a couple of things to also mention that's coming up is, 1, our new bedding range is coming out. 2, our mattresses are all going up by 10% on the 1st of July. So if you are thinking of buying a big bed mattress or a cot mattress, we have carried the price of COVID. During COVID, all the pricing of manufacturing and parts has gone up. We have carried that price for the year, but it's now time to pass it on. We can't afford to carry it any longer. So the prices of the mattresses will be going up. So please note that if you need a mattress, get it before the end of the financial year. Now, back to TOG. I would like to know from everybody watching, I said this is going to be interactive because I need your help. I would like to know from everybody watching, can you say what country you're watching from? So most likely it's Australia. So can you say Australia or Ireland or Canada? And when you found out about TOG. So TOG is the thermal overall rating. So it is basically the measurement. It is the measurement of how warm something is. Now, I need you to answer this question. I need you to say Australia when I had a baby, or Australia when I was a child, or Australia, I've always known about TOG, or Ireland, TOG's been in my life ever since I was born, or Australia, when I looked at a sleeping bag packet. I'd like to know when you found out about TOG, because I'll tell you, when I came to Australia, nobody knew about TOG, and I was the person who went on and on about TOG, and now suddenly every sleeping bag company is TOG rating their products, but I don't think they're doing it correctly. So there's a couple of things about TOG. So first of all, it needs to be after the item's washed, because if you TOG rate something and then you wash it, the TOG rating changes. Now, how do we find out the TOG? So how did we find out? Loads of people are answering, so thank you so much about that. It's great to see and hear how people found out about TOG. Now, how did you... now with TOG, how we find out the TOG of something is, it gets sent off to a lab, in our case a lab in Geelong, and they basically put this is my interpretation of what I have been told and understood from watching them TOG test and talking to them about TOG testing. It is not necessarily exact science of how it's done, but I went a few years ago and this is what I remember. They basically take a piece of metal or an iron rod. They heat it to 40 degrees. They put it inside the fabric that they are TOG testing. So if they're going to TOG test my sleeping bag, they get a large amount of that. They wrap it round it. Like, not a large as in wrap lots of layers, but they just sort of use the layer that you would have over your baby or over you. They then see how long it takes for that rod, that metal, to go back to the room temperature. So let's say 20 degrees. That's how they work out the thermal resistance, how warm something is. So again, if you're watching, please let us know when you found out about TOG. Secondly, can you say if you sleep under a cotton quilt, a wool quilt or a cotton duvet, a wool duvet, because these are things which I'd love to know to help me learn about parents and what they know about the babies. So let me know what you sleep under. That would be great to know as well. Now, as I said, our cotton quilts are going to be 8 TOG. Our winter wool quilts are going to be 12 TOG. Most quilts in Australia are 14 TOG. Ours aren't that warm because we tend to get you to heat the room, or we tend to get you to put blankets on your little one as well in bed. And I don't find that anyone in Australia, even in a room that's not heated, needs a quilt warmer than 12 TOG, because you can just put extra layers on. If you have got a 7-year-old and you're not going to heat the room, you could put a tracksuit on them instead of pyjamas. I do not believe you need warmer than that. Now, I wanted to talk to you about TOG for a minute, because this really, really bugs me. It really upsets me, this fact. We have a baby and we get told, dress your baby in one less layer than you. Now again, can you tell me, did you get told, not by me, but by a health professional, a doctor, a paediatrician, maternal health nurse at a baby talk, at any point did you get told to dress your baby in one more layer than you? Please say yes if you did. Did you get told, dress your baby in one more layer than you? And if the answer is yes, please say yes. So, if you are going to bed in, lots of people go to bed with no clothes on, but let's say you are going to bed in a pair of pyjamas, Peter Alexander pyjamas, which are, lightweight pyjamas, right? And then you put a duvet over you. That duvet is going to be 12 to 16 TOG, right? So if you're going to dress your baby in one more layer than you, your baby needs to be in 16 TOG plus, right? Now, 16 layer plus. Now, you're not going to put a quilt on your baby because they're dangerous. There are SIDS risk and there are SUDI risk. SIDS is the unexpected death of an infant. SUDI is the sudden unexpected death of an infant. And the difference is with SIDS, SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome, and SUDI is sudden unexpected death of an infant. With SIDS, they go in and the baby is either lying on its tummy, it's rolled for the first time, face down, or the baby is lying on its back in exactly the same position it was in when it got put to bed, with its face and head uncovered. They call that cot death, the former name for SIDS. With SUDI, sudden unexpected death of an infant in a cot, they go in and the baby may be got its head stuck in a quilt. It might be pushed up against a cot bumper. It might have a toy with beanbags over its face. It might have a comforter where the head of the comforter is too big. Now be really, really careful. There's hundreds of comforters I'm seeing all over the internet, as in comforter is a square bit of fabric with a head in the middle, where the heads are too big. The heads have to be the size of the heads of the comforter's eye cell. The reason for that is the baby cannot balance on my comforters, so will not roll over on my comforters, balance on the head and suffocate. They can't physically balance on it. Check your comforter. If you've got a flat comforter toy, or you've got a comforter with a bigger head than mine, the chances are your baby can balance on it. Now, if your baby balances on a comforter and the comforter is not breathable, okay, so if you call an ambulance and they find, you call it 000 because your baby isn't breathing, you're not going to leave the baby in the cot. You're going to get the baby out of the cot and you're going to start trying to help your baby. Now, so when you are then talked to, they find out that the baby was in the cot, balanced on a soft toy, or in the cot, pushed up against the side. So they know the reason for the death, but they can't prove that as the death, so it's called sudden, unexpected death of an infant. That is the main difference I can find between SIDS and SUDI. Okay, now, back on the subject, which we were originally on, of TOG. So, you would put a quilt in the cot with your baby. So what would you use? You would use breathable cotton or bamboo blankets. Now, bamboo's really good because it provides weight. But you're not going to put 76 bamboo cotton blankets on your baby to be equivalent to 16 TOG. You're just not going to do it. So, why are we told to put one extra layer on? Makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense. Follow a bedding guide. and put the sleeping bag, the layers on like I do. Now, the other thing which drives me absolutely crazy, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have this today was to ask you, have you ever read sleeping bag or bedding packaging which says, put your baby in a 1 TOG or put your baby in a 2.5 TOG product with no bedding? It doesn't make sense. So you're being told by your maternal child health nurse or by your midwife in the hospital, sleep your baby in 1 extra layer than you, right? Then you buy this product in a shop and it tells you that's all your baby needs, 2.5 TOG. Now, how can you need a 16 TOG quilt, but your baby can sleep in a 2.5 TOG sleep bag or suit with a zip up the front? It can't. It's impossible. It's not going to sleep. So you are being set up to fail. Your babies are not going to sleep properly. They're going to be hungry because they haven't slept properly. They're not going to feed properly, and then they're going to be hungry. Now, how many of you were told, do not overheat your baby, don't overheat your baby. Whatever you do, don't overheat your baby. How many people were told that? So everyone is focusing on don't overheat your baby. So 1 minute you're being told, dress your baby in 1 extra layer than you. The next minute you're being told, don't overheat your baby. And then you're looking at this packaging and it's saying, put your baby in a 2.5 TOG item, which is actually way, way less than what you're sleeping in. It doesn't make any sense. So I want everybody to try really hard to educate all of their friends this winter about TOG and about how important it is. Because if you do not have the correct warmth on your baby, 1 layer of warmth extra than you guys, when, first of all, your baby is not going to sleep properly, then your baby's not going to feed properly, you're going to be sleep deprived. That just causes all sorts of issues, including depression. Next thing that's going to happen is once your baby's old enough, they're going to flip to their tummy. Once they're old enough, they're going to flip to their tummy. Now, someone's saying that my husband and I had the exact same conversation when we brought our bub home. It's so confusing. Exactly, Kristen. It's exactly what I'm saying. So confusing. So, no bedding, your baby's going to get cold. When a baby is about 4 months old, strong enough to roll, with no bedding, they're going to flip to their tummy. Really, really dangerous. You have to make sure that your baby doesn't flip to their tummy. And the best way to do that is to follow the correct bedding advice and use the blankets. Now, there was another thing I was going to ask you about the blankets, and I have forgotten what it is. So I should have brought my notes, but you know me. Someone else said it drives them insane as well, and it does. It's the other thing which drives me insane is people saying, don't overheat your baby, don't overheat your baby. If you contact SIDS and Kids, which is now called Red Nose in Australia, and ask them how many babies have died in Australia of overheating in their cot, you will be shocked at the answer. Because so far, I have found the information from them about one baby in the Netherlands, I'm sure it was the Netherlands, and they were in a sheepskin suit in a cot with those red barred heaters pointing at the cot, and the room was a ridiculous temperature, so hot. It was like they were roasting the baby. And in Australia, babies have died of overheating in parked cars on hot days, not in their cot. Now, please don't take my word on that. Contact Red Nose and ask them for their librarian's facts. And somebody come to me with the facts if you find that that contradicts what I am saying. So don't tell me what you've heard from here or what you've heard from there. If anybody can get the facts, especially any researchers, it would be great to get the actual facts. So you can contact the now called Red Nose and ask them for the librarian's facts on how many babies have actually died in Australia of overheating in their cot. Now, another thing you need to remember is we have got our June sleep bag sale on. So you buy 2 sleep bags and you get $20 off. And that's something which, obviously, it's a good time of year to buy your sleeping bags. So anyhow, it's great to have a chat to you all, and it's good to get some feedback on whether you as well have been confused about the whole TOG thing. Remember, a cold baby rolls to their tummy. Remember, people contact me via the Facebook support group, and they say that the baby hasn't slept, and all we do is add the correct bedding and the baby sleeps. Common sense, let's put our common sense hats on and think. If you are sleeping under a duvet, which is 16 TOG, how can you expect your baby to sleep in 2.5 TOG? Makes no sense. The baby has come out of your womb. Your womb is about 37 degrees. It does not want to be in a 2.5 TOG in a room of 18 to 20 degrees. Your baby will be freezing, not sleep well, and set you up to fail. So you need to remember that, and remember that when you're chatting to your friends. And you know, people say, oh, my friend doesn't want to use TIzzie Hall, or she doesn't want to use the book, or etc. A couple of things. Feeding book. You can give the feeding book to a friend because it's about how to breastfeed and how to bottle feed and prevent sleep problems. They can demand feed and use the feeding book. You don't have to give them the baby book in case they don't want to do routines. But you don't even need to give them the book. You just need to say to them, you don't need to follow TIzzie's book or TIzzie's advice. Just learn about TOG. Okay, now, a couple of you have asked about the bedding range. So in the new bedding range, we're going to have adult mattress protectors, big bed mattress protectors. We're going to have adult and children's duvets in a 8 TOG and a 12 TOG. We're going to have pillow protectors, mattress protectors, pillow protectors. I think that's it. I may have forgotten something, but you will see it when it comes out. Very exciting that we're having our own bedding range coming out as soon as the packaging arrives. Thank you all for listening. Have a great weekend, everybody, and hope to chat to you again soon. Bye.